again to our video tutorial sections under core mathematics. My name is Osei Mensah, also referred to as Tony. Thank you all for taking time to watch our video tutorials. This core maths video tutorials is aimed at helping students to understand mathematics, getting massive understanding, and also helping them to solve maths questions easily for them to get excellent grades in any exams. We are aiming the WASSCE students, specifically the SHS students, and even those going to write the private exams. We'll go through a lot of questions with you. That is why we have entitled it Maths Made Easy. This is an organization that seeks to help students to love mathematics, to solve mathematics questions with ease, and also get massive understanding in order to get excellent grades in the exam. So at the end of the day, everything we are going to teach here is going to be basic. It's going to help you really to understand and also help you to learn on your own. Don't forget, this program is brought to you by Maths Made Easy. We'll urge you to subscribe to our channel, the Maths Made Easy channel, and follow us on all social media platforms. Please don't forget to hit on the bell icon to update you on all our videos I'll be posting. Today's topic is probability, and we are going to go into the nitty-gritty of probability through the introduction to help you understand probability. Probability is a daily activity language. It means that we have been using it in our daily conversations, in our daily activities. We use probability a lot. But before I give you the definition of probability, I want you to get some synonyms, some words that are similar in meaning to that word probability, so that you really get the understanding of the word probability. Now, we are going to take some words. Probability can be derived or is derived from the word probable. So this word probable, or someone will say probably, sorry. So you see this word probable or probably. You see, that is the origin of probability. So when you say probability, you are saying probable or probably, meaning that you are not certain. Whatever you are talking about can happen or cannot happen. So when you compare probability to a particular event or a particular statement, you are trying to tell us that that particular statement or that particular event we are talking about may occur or may not occur. So in a nutshell, every probability statement has two sides. That is the occurrence side and the non-occurrence sides. To make it simple, when you use probability, you are trying to say that that thing is likely to happen or it may not happen. So in a nutshell, probability word, another word can be likely. We can use the word likely, meaning that it can happen or it cannot happen. Are we getting what is going on here? So we can also use a word called maybe. And I'll use another word called chance. So you see, all these words are giving similar meanings to the word probability. So I always say that anybody who really wants to be uncertain can be likened to the word probability. So if you want to take examples, or if you want us to give statements that really qualify the word probability, I'll give you one statement like, probably Kofi will go to school. So the statement probably Kofi will go to school has two sides. Number one, Kofi will go to school as one side, or Kofi will not go to school. So when somebody gives a statement like this, you should know that the thing may occur or may not occur. Let me give another statement. Maybe it will rain. Maybe it will rain. When I say maybe it will rain, I'm trying to say that the rain will occur or the rain will not occur. So there are two sides of the maybe. Now let me use the word likely. The likelihood, or let's just use the word likely. It is likely that today will be the last day for the matches. it is likely that today will be the last day for the matches. What are we trying to say? We are trying to say that today may end the matches or today may not end the matches. That is all we are trying to say. Let's use the word chance. Now, the chance of getting a cure for COVID-19 is high. So I'm making that statement again. The chance of getting a cure for COVID-19 is high. What is the meaning? It means that there can be a chance which will be high, or there may not be a chance which is high. So there are two sides of the statement. But in fact, for COVID-19, we are surely going to get a cure for it. That was just by the way. So ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, still wash your hands, avoid shaking hands, make sure that you go through all the preventive measures and stay at home. Good. So everything I said using these sentences are all probability statements. Now, let me define probability now for you. Let me define probability. I'm going to write the definition on the board. Let's see. So probability is the study of an event, or of events which may occur or which may not occur. So look at the definition here. This is a simple definition I've given you. Probability is the study of events which may occur or which may not occur. So you see, probability itself has two sides. When you're studying an event, I'll give you an example of events very soon. Events are going to be the activities I'm going to mention, or events are going to be some occurrences that I'm going to mention. To look at something, the study of events which may occur or may not occur simply means probability. So as we did in all the examples I gave, they really qualify the word probability. So if you want to study probability, know that this is just a language, but we can apply probability in mathematics. If I get a value that will represent the possibility of something occurring or not occurring, that value or that number is a probability number. We started applying probability in areas like mathematics, in areas like statistics, in areas like economics, in areas like science and technology. Why? Because we needed values to represent our activities that are probability based. You see it? So the reason why we are bringing this into mathematics is because we want to get values. And don't forget, we are going to use formula to get values, or regulate formulas to get some values. Those values are going to be our probability final answers or final values. Now, let me give you events that we always portray in our daily lives and activity that really depicts probability. There is a particular event called Ludo that has a die. We use a die in playing Ludo. The dice is that thing that we roll on the Ludo board. Now, you know the die has faces like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There are 6 faces of the die. Now, all those 6 faces, somebody may want to see a 5 shown on the face. But remember that you just say 5, but 5 will not come. Maybe another one, like maybe the one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 may show. That should tell you that that die rolling is a probability. There is a chance that what you want will occur or will not occur. That really gives you that probability assurance. Now, another thing like the coin. The coin is tossed usually during matches when the referee wants to select the team that will really pass the ball to kick off. You realize that the referee has to toss a coin. When the referee tosses the coin, it shows which team will kick off or kick the ball for us to start the game. Now, the coin has 2 sides or 2 faces, the head and the tail. So the coin has a face called the head. Universally, we call it the head, and another face called the tail. So if you toss a coin, you may see the head or you may see the tail. That should show you that tossing a coin is a probability event. Lottery. So many people engage in lottery like My Bet and Co. You realize that lottery is a game of chance. The numbers that you want may occur or may not occur. So lottery is also another thing that is a probability event. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the introduction of probability. I'm going to take you through some terms and the probability. For you to know it well, then we go through some calculations in probability. Don't forget, probability is a study of an event which may occur or may not occur. Let's see some terminologies under probability. Alright, so in this particular segment or section of our probability, we are going to look at definition of terms. So after the introduction in probability, understanding that particular probability word, I want to look at all the terms associated with probability. Please, you can pause the video and go through when I'm done, and I'll even write them down. But in the description, I'll also keep them in the description so that you can check them out. Let's see the first term. The terms are many, but I'll go through one after the other. Experiment. Now, an experiment, as we defined, an experiment is any activity whose outcome cannot be guessed with certainty. It is very simple. Experiment really stands for that thing that you cannot tell me the outcome. So it means that when you are performing an experiment, you are looking for a particular outcome, but you cannot guess it with certainty. So that is what we call experiment. And this terminology is very useful in probability. So understand experiment. Experiment is any activity whose outcome cannot be guessed with certainty. You don't know the answer offhand. You have to finish performing it before you can see its outcome or its results or its answer. That is an experiment. Let's see trial. A trial is just a word that we always use when you're trying something. You're just testing the thing. So a trial is when something is performed once. When you perform something once, it becomes a trial. We call that word testing. You're trying it to see whether it will work. So once here stands for just a single outcome of it. So you see, so an experiment performed once is a trial. So when you are performing an experiment in just a single phase, we say that that particular action is called a trial. So when you're trying something, it is an experiment performed in a single phase. Or when you perform experiment once, we term that particular activity as a trial. Let's go to the third one, outcome. Outcome can be the word results. That is what we call outcome. But let's see outcome. An outcome is the result of an experiment. After you perform the experiment, whatever you get from the experiment becomes your outcome. For example, you want to know whether indeed whatever is going on in your life is true or false. Then you have to go and perform an experiment. Let's say you are going through a sickness. Let's take a sickness like malaria. You go to the hospital, they do some tests on you, and then the test comes out as positive, meaning you have malaria. So you realize that the result came out as positive. So the result becomes the outcome. But the testing and all those things that you went through is what we call the experiment. Are we getting what is going on here? So when you are trying to do something to get a result, we call that thing that you are doing an experiment. And the result you get or the answer that you get is what we call the outcome. Now let's continue. Equally likely outcome become our fourth term. Equally likely outcomes. You can repeat that after me. Good. Now, in an experiment, the outcomes which have equal chance of occurring are called equally likely outcomes. You look at something. We are talking about outcome as a result. And let's take this scenario. There are some experiments or there are some things that we do in life that have so many results. So all the results that are going to come out as their final results are all called equally likely outcome. Let me take an example like a coin. You know that a coin has two faces. As I introduced in probability, a coin has the head and the tail. Now, whoever wants to toss a coin is hoping for one of them. Let's say I want to toss a coin, I'm hoping to see the head. Unfortunately, I can see the tail. This should show you that head and tail can all occur when the coin is tossed. So the head and the tail together is what we refer to as equally likely outcome. So example is a coin tossed may show head or tail. Now this means that head and tail are referred to as equally likely outcomes. So you see the two of them combined. Let's take an example like the die. The dice has 6 different faces. The face that shows 1, the face that shows 2, the face that shows 3, the face that shows 4, the face that shows 5 and 6. So you see, when you are tossing a die, you see, just in Ghana, for example, when we are playing Ludo is one of the games that we really enjoy in our homes. It's an indoor game. Well, when you're playing the Ludo, you want 6 Meludu to come out. Then you go like 6 Meludu. Then you show 1, and the person will be very, very, very disturbed. You want 6, but you showed 1. At a point where you are at the edge of your home and you are going out, you want 1. It will rather go and show 6. So you see the issues around here. You want something, you don't get it. But so far as the Ludo die, or the die has 6 faces, any one of them is likely to occur. So then that particular state where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the faces, all of them are there and they can occur, then we say they are likely or equally likely outcomes. That is what we mean by the word or the term equally likely outcome, meaning that equally they are all likely to occur. I believe you get the whole thing well. Now let's look at the fifth one called random sampling. I think random sampling is a very, very common word. Technically, when we say sampling, we say this is choosing a sample from the bulk without being biased. You see, you want to select somebody who is fit or who qualifies for work. You can't be biased. You can't use relationship. You can't use family matters there. Here, you are going to select the person based on the person's qualification. So when you are selecting a particular event or you are selecting a particular outcome without being biased, we say that it's called random sampling. Here, no emotions are attached to it. No favoritism here. You just selected randomly. Are we getting it? So we call that one random sampling. You select based on the fact that that thing qualifies. But when you are biased or when you favor the person in selection, it is not a random sampling. And in probability, most of the question, we are going to select randomly. That is how it's going to be. So let's go to the next terminology on the next page. Terminologies. We are dealing with terminology number 6. Now here it is referred to as the event. Usually see for event, it is not something complicated. Let's try and understand it. From the definition, an event, E. So the symbol of event right now, we'll give a symbol of E to event. So note E for event. Okay, so let's go. An event, E, is the outcome or series of outcomes in the probability process. So event is the outcome or series of outcomes in the probability process. Let's get a word. Now, event actually has something to do with the sample space, or event actually has something to do with the outcome. Okay, so whatever we are doing here, we are trying to say that anything that comes out is what we refer to as the event. So an event is a collection of sample points with common properties. So collection of sample points with common properties. What do we mean? When you perform an experiment, okay, or when you go through an activity, you realize that you will mention a particular instance in it. So for example, let me take a single phase event like when you toss a coin, you will get a head. So the probability of getting a head, just getting the head becomes the event. Whatever outcome that you are having is the event. So getting a head, I refer to it as a single phase event, or the head becomes a single phase event. There is another part of the coin called a tail. So in case I toss the coin and I get a tail, or you toss the coin and you get a the tail alone becomes a single phase event. Now let's look at a collective or a double phase event or a multiple phase event. Now the multiple phase event is when I toss a die. Let's take the die. The die has, let's say, several phases. Are you getting it? So the die has phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and phase 6. Now when you toss a die and the question go like, find a probability of getting an even number. You know 2 as a phase on the die is even. 4 as a phase on the die is even. 6 also as a phase on the die is even. So 2, 4, 6 are phases on the die that are even. So these particular values become the multiple phase event. So getting 2, 4, 6 as even numbers, okay, as even numbers is what we call event. So event here is what? The even numbers. Good. So when we come, you realize that event is also the subset of sample space. Sample space, which I will define later on in a video. So that is what we call event. Event is the outcome or series of outcomes in the probability process. So whatever outcome or whatever final conclusion you have, or whatever answer you are getting, or whatever comes out from your process or your experiment is what we call the event. So the event actually has something to do with the outcome. Good, let's go on to the next one. We say there are so many types of event that I'll be explaining in the video on its own. I'll put the description in the description. I'll put the link in there. So I'll put the link in the description down below. So you realize that I'm going to take care of all these, but I'm not defining them for now. I'm just going to go through them. We have something called certain events, impossible events, compound events, mutually exclusive events, independent events. All these are types of events. I'll explain with a separate video for you. But for now, let's go through the terminologies. Now, the second one is the possible outcome. You know, we have something called outcomes. So the outcomes, you know, were the results from an experiment, from a particular experiment. But the possible outcome refer to all the outcomes of an experiment. You know, outcome is a single thing. Possible outcome may be many. Are you getting it? So when we get many outcomes, those outcomes are referred to as possible outcomes. So the word could be outcomes or possible outcome. Outcome when it is one particular answer, and possible outcomes when your outcomes are many. That is what we are talking about. Now let's look at the particular one we are waiting for, called sample space. Is the last one, but not the least. So sample space. Sample space is the set of all possible outcomes. So when you have a die, you realize that outcomes on the die, or possible outcomes on the die, will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the die can give you 1, can give you 2, can give you 3, can give you 4, can give you 5, and still can give you 6. These are referred to as possible outcome. So when you toss the die, you can get 1. When you toss the die, you can also get 2. When you toss the die, you can get 3. When you toss the die, you can get 4, 5, and 6, respectively. You realize that all these are referred to as possible outcome. But all these coming together forms what we call sample space. So then we can say the sample space here is 6. Why? Because there are 6 different things that can occur. So the symbol for sample space is N of S. We say then N of S is what? 6. Meaning that there are 6 things that can occur here. So sample space is 6. For the coin, there are 2 things. That is the head and the tail. Let me put it there. The coin has the head and the tail. So if the possible outcomes are head and tail, then the sample space for coin, that is N of S for coin, will be what? Will be 2. There are 2 things that can occur. So the symbol for sample space is N of S. And don't forget, sample space is a set of all possible outcomes. Sample space is the total number of outcomes in an experiment for a particular event. The total number of outcomes in an experiment for a particular event is what we call sample space. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the terminologies. Let me clean the rough word for you so that you can. So go through them, take your time and go through them one after the other. All these terminologies are going to be used in our probability calculation. Now let's take the general formula for probability and do some calculations on there. Alright. Please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to get a notification anytime we upload a new video. Also, don't forget to like, share the video, and leave your comment in the comment section. Thank you very much. God bless you all and take care.